And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the first official live stream of the Polkadot Harbour Industrial Capital Advisory Board. So very, very excited to be here on the official Polkadot account to talk about our newly appointed advisory board. We have an all-star team of people from across the Polkadot ecosystem who agreed to join the advisory board to help Harbour Industrial grow and be more active and invest more capital in good Polkadot-based startups. So who do we have here? We have Michael from Mandala Chain. We have Kristen from Polka World. We have Pauline from the PBA. We have Pacman from Pacman Media and others. We have Tommy from OpenGov.watch, and we have Angie from Signum Growth and .play. So very excited to have you all here. What I thought we're gonna do here is, first do like a quick round of introductions where everybody just says a few words about what they're doing in general. Forget about like Harbour Industrial for a minute. Just like give the viewers like a 30 seconds, 1 minute like overview what you're doing in the Polkadot ecosystem. Then back to me. Then I say a few more things about the advisory board and about the fund and about the things that we're planning for the foreseeable future. And then we just open it up to a more general discussion, and then we go a little bit more into the details of what you guys are doing as advisors on the board of Harbour Industrial Capital. So, round of introduction. Who wants to kick it off?
This is awkward silence. I can go first this way.
Pacman, go for it.
Yeah. I think most of the Polkadot community knows me. Pacman, will go by the name of Pacman, and I run a marketing agency, so we have like multiple clients. I've been working with Mandala Chain for quite some time. I'm the co-founder of Kylix Finance as well, and there's various other projects. I've been part of the Polkadot ecosystem since very early, since Kusama days actually, and I've been working with. I started as an ambassador, and I've been working with communities and marketing and management, and ended up being the co-founder of Kylix Finance. Quite happy to be part of the HIC advisory board because this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Because being part of a startup project myself, I think this is a great initiative, and happy to talk more about it.
Fantastic. Who's next?
How about I go after Pacman?
Sure, please, Kristen.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Kristen from Polkadot. I'm here representing Polkadot to be a member of HIC board. And Polkadot is, we started focusing on Chinese marketing, but now we just want to build as big as Polkadot communities as possible. Me personally, I joined in crypto industry in 2018, and I joined the Polkadot ecosystem in 2019. And but in Polkadot, my role was mainly about doing the research about in this ecosystem. So I will sometimes invite builders and excellent builders in this ecosystem to have a interview to them to dive deep into their thinking and everything about their mindset, behind the Polkadot ecosystem. And I know about Max is from the Web3 festival, and I did an interview to you. So that's why you guys, that's why you guys left a very very good impression to me, and so it's lucky for us to can build a deeper relationship at this stage. So very happy to be here. Thank you.
No, absolutely, yeah. And let me also just quickly to respond to everyone. I mean, about Kristen and Polka World. Keep in mind, Harbour Industrial is mainly based in Hong Kong, so part of the Greater China region, and we're very excited to see all the things that are happening in Greater China. And Polka World is obviously doing a very good job here in this very important market. Mainland China clearly is one of the big growth markets for Polkadot in general. So yeah, very excited to have you here on board. Okay, who wants to go next?
More than happy to. I can jump in.
Please, Michael.
My name's Michael. I'm originally Australian, but I've been living in Bali, Indonesia for the last 7 years. I've been in blockchain since about 2017. I originally was quite early into the Ethereum ecosystem, but in around sort of 2019, we started Republic Labs, which is like a blockchain media and research consultancy. So we started it here in Indonesia, and we run one of the largest blockchain media outlets in the Indonesian language, as well as doing a whole bunch of research for other ecosystems and other social media platforms. We white label a lot of our research and content to some other semi-famous influencers. But we're a blockchain agnostic platform and work with every ecosystem, but I'm the Polkadot guy. So when the time came for the opportunity to actually build something, an opportunity presented with the Indonesian government, and I obviously wanted to build that inside Polkadot because it's been the place that I've been the most excited about since before the parachains launched. And so yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of Mandala Chain.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Michael. Also, for a little bit of context, Harbour Industrial is already invested in Mandala Chain, so it's an existing portfolio company of us. But yeah, Michael is also with Republic Labs, which is a much wider ecosystem, sort of Indonesian ecosystem focused community. So very excited to have you on board as well. And also one more sentence about Michael and Mandala Chain and Bali. So Bali is like our next stop here as part of the PBA. Quite a few of us will be going there, and there will be both CoinFest, where Mandala Chain and Michael in specific are going to be taking a leading role. We'll be there as well, and directly immediately after the PBA. After the CoinFest, we're going to have the PBA, the Polkadot Blockchain Academy, which is also represented by Pauline on our board, who, by the way, could not make it for the live stream today because, as a matter of fact, she is on a plane to Bali as we speak. So that's why she didn't have Starlink on the plane, I guess. That's why she's not joining here the chat today. Okie dokie. Then I think the last person here on the video, at least, is Tommy. After that, we go to Angie. But yeah, Tommy first.
All right, thank you. Yeah, my name is Tommy. I am, by my background, I'm a computer scientist, engineer. I have a master's study in knowledge management and computer security. So I was always very drawn to Web3 and crypto. I came into Polkadot in 2021, yeah, 4 years ago, and I was so excited to discover Polkadot because it is a really forward-thinking ecosystem that thinks about how you can scale technology, how you can bring true Web3 and not just blockchain. And yeah, I've been part of Polkadot ever since. And right now working as an ecosystem developer, as a free agent in a contract with the Web3 Foundation, and just focusing on improving all the areas where there needs to be a better service infrastructure, so that we can make sure that when developers are coming to Polkadot, they find the right service infrastructure, try to sort out things. And right now also working on the Polkadot 2.0 launch party, which will be in about 2 months. So when Polkadot 2.0 is finished, there will be a big campaign and event involving community members all over the planet.
We'll be there as well.
Global online hackathon. So yeah, that's the work that I do. And right now, a lot of the infrastructure for Polkadot is built. Everything is built that is there. We have data availability. We have high compute. We have Polkadot 2.0 almost finished. So every parachain that wants to come as an enterprise product has the ability to come. And so it's all about scaling and bringing applications, enterprise-grade applications to Polkadot, right? So this is why I'm very keen on working with Harbour Industrial Capital, because they have this focus on bringing apps to Polkadot that are relevant, that are solving problems that can only be solved with Web3 and that are touching the lives of human people.
Amazing. Yeah, very excited to have Tommy on board here as well. Clearly one of the most active ecosystem agents out there. And with OpenGov.watch, I think we also have like a very important platform here on board, because I guess OpenGov.watch is all about transparency and all about like bringing information about what we do as a community to the Polkadot DAO, right? So I think also in terms of like disclosures, I think this is a very, very good and meaningful platform to work with. Okay, then next I want to go to Angie if she gets her camera working again. She was just driving somewhere in the UK. Angie, are you here?
No, I think we've lost Angie.
Oh, we lost Angie. Okay, well, then I hope she joins the live stream later again. And then in that case, last but not least, let's go over to Mario. So Mario is my co-founder at Harbour Industrial Capital. Mario, do you want to say a few like introductory words, about our background and
Sure.
how we came to doing what we're doing now?
Sure, very happy to have everyone here together today. It's been quite a journey, and as you know, Max and I, we launched our first fund almost 4 years ago, and already supported close to 30 projects in the Polkadot ecosystem. And we just launched our second fund. We already made 5 investments out of that one, 2 of which already announced, Mandala and Excavate, and the others will be announced soon. And we've been busy the last few months supporting the projects. Very excited to work with everyone here on the advisory board, but also with all the projects that are already in the ecosystem and looking to build on the Polkadot ecosystem.
Perfect. By the way, somebody who's typing very loudly on the keyboard, please mute yourself so that your typing isn't caught by the microphone. All right. So with this round of introductions out of the way, let's kind of go a little bit deeper here and talk about what Harbour Industrial is really trying to achieve here and why we put together this advisory board. So as Mario said at the beginning, right, this is already our second fund. So we did, the first fund started around 3 years ago. Back then, everything was like private capital. So we had like family offices from Hong Kong amongst our LPs. Obviously, we ourselves as GPs invested heavily in the fund as well. We have some private investors, some institutional investors from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East that joined this first fund. But I want to emphasize that all of them are private investors, so to speak. That's how we launched the first fund. And first fund is currently like fully raised, fully deployed. And we're kind of actively managing the liquid positions in this fund. Second fund is a bit of a different story in the sense that we just launched it at the beginning of this year, and then the Web3 Foundation also decided to put in an LP ticket into this fund, which is great, which we obviously welcome very much. I guess it makes us also a bit more of an official ecosystem fund, although we're also still continuing to raise capital from private LPs. So we, still have a lot of other family offices that also invest in the fund alongside the Web3 Foundation. We're expecting quite a lot of rollovers to come from, Fund 1 into Fund 2. We're actively talking to a few, institutional investors all over the world, really, that are interested in putting capital into the Polkadot ecosystem, but who don't really know exactly what's the best way to go about it. What are really the most exciting startups in the Polkadot ecosystem, and therefore they decided to, invest through us by becoming an LP. Now, the first thing I said is Web3 Foundation is LP in our fund, and therefore we kind of decided to, be a little bit more open, a little bit more forthright, a little bit more transparent, a little bit more engaged in the community of Polkadot, to make sure that everybody, really knows us and understands us and knows what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve here. And that's why we decided to convene this advisory board, right? So I think, for the community out there, so to speak, the reason why we have this board is that, I guess you'll know somebody at least on this advisory board if you're a regular to Polkadot. Do reach out to them if you want to get in touch with Harbour Industrial Capital, right? That's, these are kind of the faces of Harbour Industrial Capital now. The 6 that you can see on the screen here, plus Angie, whose camera doesn't work, and plus Pauline, who is currently on a flight from Europe to Bali. So any of these 8 people, reach out to them if there's anything you want to relay to Harbour Industrial Capital. Now, what might you want to relay? I guess the most obvious thing is investments, right? So let me talk a little bit about this, right? So we believe that Polkadot in general needs more investments and less grants. Yeah. So we're currently in a situation where the rollout of Polkadot Hub is coming very soon. And I expect, or maybe I should say, I hope that Polkadot Hub is really going to lead to a proliferation of new apps that are building on Polkadot. I mean, that's what we really want, right? We don't want Polkadot Hub to be a ghost chain, obviously, right? We want new builders to come build on Hub. I think Hub is going to be an amazing platform for these kind of builders. It's going to be much easier to build something on Hub than it used to be in the previous parachain paradigm. So, fast to market, quick deployment, and whatnot. Now, these kind of builders that are coming to Hub, yes, it's going to be easier for them to deploy, but they're still going to need some sort of funding, right? Because they have salaries to pay, they have overhead, they have costs, right? Maybe some marketing, right? There are obviously some expenditures here. And the status quo is that many of these kind of guys, in the past, went to the treasury, right? To the Polkadot treasury. And that makes sense because obviously, we have this very active treasury that has a lot of money in it and where anyone can, openly, permissionlessly submit a request for funding. So we've seen a lot of these kind of commercial projects coming to the treasury asking for funding. However, we at Harbour Industrial Capital believe that this is not the best use of treasury funds. Yeah, because if projects that are commercially viable come and ask for funding to the treasury, in my opinion, should get something back that is a little bit more concrete than just a commitment of building on Polkadot. Because that's currently what it is, right? When these projects are coming to to the treasury, then they say, give us money and we will build on Polkadot, right? That, in my opinion, isn't a very good value proposition, right? The treasury should also be able to hold some equity in these startups that it invests in. And this is kind of something where we at Harbour Industrial Capital are trying to change the narrative a little bit, okay? So this is kind of one of the big things that you will hear me talking about quite a lot over the next couple of months. We have a few kind of initiatives planned here on that front. We'll share more details about concrete examples of how we're trying to achieve that in due course. But in the meanwhile, let's just generally explore this thesis. And now I'll open it up to my panel here, to my board, about this thesis, more investments and less grants. How do you guys feel about that? Who wants to go first?
How about I go first?
Okay. Kristen, go
Sure,
ahead.
Kristen. Yeah, please. Would love to hear from you.
Oh, yes, because, Polkadot was selected as the DV and 3 months ago, and we have been reviewing tons of proposals, and we've come across many proposals that are asking for fund from the OpenGov, from the Treasury, but they're actually a commercial, type proposals, and they make profit. And there was an argument, and it's like, funding proposals like this, and once they get succeed, it's already been a kind of return for the ecosystem, because there's very successful project in this ecosystem, and will help this ecosystem get more reputation in Web3 in a larger ecosystem. That's how they describe. I agree, but this is totally different, because how can you tell that you are the potential project? And it is the voters, it is the DVs or the big whales, they vote for these proposals, but they're not professional. They hold different views at the end of the word, and they don't take any responsibility for their votings, because if this project doesn't work well in the end, it is only the Treasury that takes the risk, and nobody else take it. And that is why I firmly argue that the OpenGov, the Treasury, should separate the role with the VCs, and they hold a different nature, totally different nature. VCs, they will take full responsibility for their investment, and in this, and also projects that receive funding from VCs, they work out differently, because they have to be responsible for their VCs, and so it's a benefit exchange. This is how it works. But we can see that the project get funding from the commercial project, get funding from the Treasury. It turns out that they get paid. They get very high paid salary, and they never deliver the product, and they asking for very high bonus. So they're not competitive, because they are not competitive for the market, and they don't have a responsibility for what is giving back to the investors. So in my view, that personally, I firmly, hold the view that OpenGov should funding for the public good proposals, and all other commercial proposals should go for VCs like HIC. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. And I really have to say that Polka World has been very consistent in the way you guys voted on these kind of proposals. I mean, there have been quite a lot, and I know you got quite a bit of pushback, but yeah, you've clearly been consistent about your message here, so I appreciate that. Anyone else with any thoughts?
I'll just follow up, and I couldn't agree more with Kristen on this. Like, the Treasury should not be the one funding the projects directly, because, for example, if you're a new project and you go to a Treasury, you don't really have the same level of due diligence like a VC would do on you. For example, if you go to a VC and say like, oh, this is my project, and this is what I've done, they will look into you, they will look what you've done in the past, and they'll kind of do verification on your project, what you've been building, what you achieved so far, how much funding you had, how did you spend that money, and then they'll move forward to whether invest on whether you are a credible investment or not. Treasury, on the other side, community, even though they hold quite a good amount of vote, and they can vote in the money whether you get the money or not, but they don't have the same level of experience when doing due diligence on projects. So that sense kind of makes a bit different, unless, for example, somebody has been working in the ecosystem for a long time, they have track record of good success, and then they can go to the Treasury saying like, oh guys, I've done this on my own so far, or as a team so far, and now this is where we're struggling and we need more money to deliver and this is how it's going to benefit the Polkadot ecosystem. Christian's right, like this has become a little bit more commercialized, where people come in and make it sound like, oh, this is going to be great for the ecosystem. They get the money and you never hear from them again. So yeah, so I think this is a great approach where Treasury actually gets something back in return through the HSC, LP ticket. And this is one of the reasons why I was behind this idea and I supported it. So thank you.
Cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Is it me or you,
Marco?
Tommy? Is it me or you? Me or you, Tommy?
Mine is very simple. It's who is carrying the risk and who is carrying the reward. And it for the treasury, it goes a little bit into the theory of what is the treasury, what's the role of the treasury. Does it want to fund common goods, which was sort of the very original theory, common goods, so the stuff that everyone needs? What you currently see is that there is a service layer being supported by OpenGov. So that is marketing, legal support, DevRel support, all kinds of talent education. So this is a service layer. So this is what we see right now. And then we recently had a lot of discussion that we organized also via our Twitter space in terms of should the treasury be investing into certain verticals or not? And should it be funding certain verticals or not? And you see that there is occasional funding, occasional investment. But this is a very complex discussion, right? Because of all the reasons that you are mentioning. So I think OpenGov by itself, what it is good at is funding a service layer and funding common good infrastructure. But for everything that is more entrepreneurial, you need to become more sophisticated.
Yeah, and let me quickly respond to this, because you said who's carrying the risks and who's carrying the rewards. I think that's a great way of framing it, right? And obviously should be the same person. Whoever carries the risks should also carry the rewards, right? And if the treasury is the one who's carrying the risk, then the treasury is also the one who should be carrying the rewards. But yeah, with that, over to Michael.
Yeah, I totally echo what's been said right now. I want to give a little bit of a slightly nuanced viewpoint, same point of view, but from a different angle. So I'm privileged enough to be the Polkadot Maxi guy, but I have exposure to a lot of other ecosystems. I've seen how they all work. I've seen a lot of their foundations, how they operate. And Polkadot is a victim of its own success. Because we've done such a good job at decentralization, everything is in the public view. And so a lot of the criticisms that a lot of our community give ourselves of things that we do or things that we invest money in or spending money on marketing, other ecosystems do it behind closed doors. And so Polkadot looks like we're the only one doing it, but we're not. We're the only one that's doing it publicly. And so to put a different hat on of a founder who's recently started a project in this ecosystem, the VC landscape outside of Polkadot is quite hostile towards Polkadot. There's a lot of venture capital firms out there that we've spoken to in the last few years who are very interested in product, but not interested in ecosystem. And so Polkadot has been almost blacklisted in many circles by whatever reason. We can go into the arguments for why that's the case. But I know from Mandala specifically, we were offered money to leave Polkadot and to go and build in other ecosystems. And so this is where it becomes then a check of someone's ethics and their ethos. That what do I want to build with this tech stack, or do I want to follow the money? And so I think the reason why OpenGov has become the place that a lot of founders have gone to with for-profit businesses and for-profit projects is because there's nowhere else to go. And you've got a choice. Do I want to have no money and have my project die? Or do I want to go somewhere else where they are offering me money and they are welcoming me with open arms? And the only place where that funding has been available right now has been very, very few and far between, Harbour Industrial Capital or OpenGov. And I know that that's not what OpenGov is designed for, but it's been the port of last call. And so how many times have we seen projects come to OpenGov, been rejected, leave the ecosystem? It's happened a lot. And it's because there's no other options right now if you want to build in Polkadot. And it's not because they don't have a good product, or because I see the comments often in OpenGov forum will be, go to a VC. Well, having been someone who's done that for the last 2 years, VCs will tell you, cool idea, build it on Solana and I'll fund it. So this is the problem that we have to deal with. And we have to be real about this as well, which is why something like what you're talking about, Max and Mario, is essential right now.
Man, I really appreciate that, Michael. And I think this is a very good summary and a very good framing as well. It is really unfortunate that, Polkadot, in the eyes of more mainstream crypto VCs, is not an attractor, right? I mean, 3-4 years ago, this was very different, right? I mean, we all remember, right? This was the time when, everything that, even if it didn't have anything to do with Polkadot, they still named themselves as Polka something, right? It's a very, very, very different time right now, right? And we have to acknowledge that, right? I mean, I still believe the technology is second to none, but the reputation is not there. That's just a fact. And, we at Harbour Industrial, we speak with a lot of funds, right? So in Hong Kong, for example, we're very much embedded in the VC network, and keep in mind, Hong Kong is home to some of the world's most prominent VCs. And so we talk, on a regular basis with these other guys who are, more generic, or let's say agnostic, ecosystem agnostic crypto VCs. And the matter of fact is, they're not interested, right? I always joke, VCs like to position themselves as the thought leaders and, the people who kind of create the markets or who lead in the markets. But, frankly speaking, VCs oftentimes are also just followers, right? they also have FOMO, FUD and FOMO, right? How many times I have heard from, reputable VCs saying things like, "Oh, Polkadot, I thought it's dead. I think nothing is happening there." The truth is they just never really bothered to look under the hood. They never bothered to, I don't know, open the Polkadot SDK, listen to an AAG call, just literally simply go on the Polkadot website and see all the things that are new now. They still think we're kind of stuck in the Polkadot JS era, where this is the only wallet. So, many of these VCs are also, frankly speaking, lazy, and don't have the interest really to look, as I said, underneath the hood. But what does that mean for us, right? We cannot really wait until they suddenly rediscover their interest in the Polkadot ecosystem. I think that will come automatically as soon as we have a few, superstar projects that, start in Polkadot and become unicorns within, a few months, a year, right? Then when we have that story to tell, then of course the big name VCs are going to come back. No doubt about that. But in the meanwhile, some period of time between now and then, we have to find other ways of supporting the projects that are building on Polkadot, and giving them money in the form of grants through OpenGov without expecting anything in return is, in my opinion, the wrong approach. The Treasury should have an ownership in these projects that it supports, because at the end of the day, that's also what aligns interests, or what aligns incentives. And yeah, that's kind of where I think we should be moving. Okay, Mario, I'd like to hand it over to you as well. More generally, what is your thinking, and forward?
Just a few thoughts. First, to add on to what Michael said, for Polkadot, all the discussions are being made public, obviously. So someone, Gemini, just commented in the chat that yes, of course, Polkadot should also do marketing. I totally agree with that. But in a democracy, when you have public discussions about it, then your competition, your enemies will pick up on the discussion points, and basically, then you see in some media oh, Polkadot is spending X amount on this and that. So we need to be aware of that, and I think as a community, it makes us stronger. But we also need to be aware that there are obviously others who will abuse Polkadot's transparency. That's number one. Then I also wanted to highlight, I also often get these comments, why Polkadot, why this? You don't have any any great projects. So I said, look, we have great projects. I know a lot of, I know a lot of projects building great solutions, and some of them have already reached unicorn status. Like BitTensor, for example. Let's not forget, he grew out of the Polkadot technology and ecosystem. peak network, right? So where we were also heavily invested early on. So, I mean, what we need to create is an environment on one hand where projects and developers can thrive, that they can really get the funding, get the support to build out the solutions and reach their full potential. And then once they reach the full potential, they also basically, as a community, create basically a space where it is attractive for people to identify with Polkadot. And I think this is really essential. On one hand, of course, it's marketing. On the other hand, it's very important. What we're talking here is about funding. And I always like to say, when probably some of you, when they bought a stock, then you look at your portfolio on a daily basis and see where the stock is going, right? When you hold some DOT, then you check where the DOT price is. Similar it is here, yes, I mean, grants for public goods, well taken. It's basically like the infrastructure, like we built the roads, we built the schools, we built the water systems, very important. But then to build commercially viable enterprises, I think it's very important to have an alignment of the risk and rewards here, as we have discussed. And then once you hold that position, you're very much involved with the project and make sure that the project has the resources and connections and whatever the project needs to succeed. And you also need to monitor positions, so it's quite a very complex process. But I think the key is really to have the incentives aligned and to make sure that the ecosystem gets the rewards from the successful projects in terms of financial rewards, in terms of reputational reward, back to the ecosystem.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have around 20 minutes left in this live stream, so I would like to shift gears a little bit and talk about something else, which I would call verticals. Okay, so let's maybe spend those those kind of this remaining time about what are really like the exciting growth opportunities that we see in Polkadot, and as a result of that, where we as Harbour Industrial Capital are and will be able to invest in. So, I mean, I guess first off, Marius just mentioned earlier, 2 investments out of Fund 2 have already been announced. That's Mandala Chain and Excavate. 3 more will follow very soon. They're actually already finalized, and it's literally a matter of days until we can, finally announce this in public. So watch our X account, where we will be tweeting about that. But yeah, the investments have actually already been made. But I want to talk a little bit more generally about what are kind of the exciting growth opportunities in this ecosystem. And same as in the previous round, I'm gonna say a few things myself here, and then I'm gonna go around the horn, and I'd like to hear from everybody here, what they think are like things that are all kind of commercially viable products or like apps, that we hope that come to Polkadot, right? And where then at the end of the day, we as Harbour Industrial Capital and the advisory board can invest in, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. I'm gonna first talk about like 2 verticals. So one of them is gaming, right? Obviously, with Mythical Games being one of the most prominent parachains, Polkadot has established itself very well as a gaming focused chain. I think that makes a lot of strategic sense, because obviously, like with many other technologies, similar for Web3, right? Gamers are first adopters, right? And obviously the gaming market is much, much bigger than the Web3 market. So, if we get some interesting games onto Polkadot, then, that's great, because that really generates new users. And, more onboarding of like non-Web3 users onto Polkadot. I mentioned Mythical Games before. We at Harbour Industrial Capital are also invested there, and we think it's a great company. But of course, there are many other gaming companies and gaming publishers out there. I think the model through which this works kind of best is to really build these amazing, like, fun to play kind of games, right? The play to earn era is over, right? That's a thing of the past. It's not going to work. We need like games that are fun, engaging, people play naturally, but then build in some sort of a kind of Web3 centric token rewards that are that improve the overall experience, that allow like great players to also monetize their skill, that increase engagement with their fan community, right? That's kind of the direction in which we're going. And as I said, I mean, there are so many other game publishers out there that are building great games that are just in the process of getting to Web3. And Mario and I have been talking to several like game publishers recently, so I'm just really saying like the last couple of weeks. Also one actually just last week at the Web3 Summit in Berlin. There are lots of like promising game publishers that want to build these kind of Web3 mechanisms into their game, but oftentimes also need some sort of an incentive, and usually that comes in the form of an investment to tie themselves into an ecosystem. The fact is, other ecosystems, Solana most importantly, are very heavily courting these kind of developers because they want them to build on their chain. We think they should come to Polkadot, and we're gonna do our best to make exactly that happen. Second vertical that I want to talk about is RWAs. So RWAs is still a massive topic, right? I know we have been talking about RWAs since at least the previous cycle, and some people go like, oh, okay, nothing much happened, what's really happening in the RWA space? It's absolutely coming. So I think we're still at the very, very early stage of RWA, right? And what do I mean with that? I mean with that the thesis that in the future, every stock, bond, every commodity, every piece of real estate, every piece of art, every invoice, every commodity, you name it, right, will be tokenized and traded on a blockchain, right? On a public blockchain, I should say, not on a public blockchain. That is coming anyways, just simply because it is the better user experience. It just makes much more sense, right? That's what users want. Everyone, like, if they were able to sell their car or their property, directly from one person to the other, peer-to-peer via an app, of course they prefer to do it rather than going to like a old school notary with like a heavy desk, and you have to sign something pen on paper and then pay, I don't know, 2% of like the property purchase value as a notary fee. That's just not a great experience. So all of these things are absolutely still coming to Web3. The reason why it hasn't really happened quite yet is because as soon as you're touching real world assets, right, the real world part of RWA, you are operating in a licensed environment, right? And there are, of course, a lot of rules and regulations about these various markets that are in place. And, you also cannot like put them all together in one bucket. I mean, obviously, I don't know, real estate in Brazil, follows a very different regulatory regime than, let's say, the art market in China, right? I mean, yes, they're all RWAs, but you need to operate in a different kind of regulatory framework. And regulations in that sense are not our enemy, right? We have to work within these kind of regulations to create great products that are actually used. And I'm seeing so many different things pop up here and there and everywhere really that are tackling one particular market, right? They say, okay, we are, the experts on, I don't know, diamonds in Belgium, okay? And we're going to tokenize them. Great, right? Let's do it. You need like the domain knowledge, the domain expertise to, work within the regulated environment. But then you also need to build it on a public ledger, on a public blockchain, in order to make it interoperable with all the other RWAs that are out there, right? If you're only building a chain a whole chain, right, for, let's say, diamond tokenization in Antwerp, right? That's kind of a bit pointless, right? Like, why would you do that? Who would like go onto this chain for only this particular purpose? But Polkadot, right? I'm thinking of Polkadot as the AWS of Web3. You can literally build anything you like on it, right? It's an extremely powerful and extremely generic machine. That also is all about interoperability. It allows you to build anything and then still create those direct exchanges with other regulated verticals in different parts of the world. All right, I'm going to stop here. This is quite a long-winded answer, I guess, but as I said, RWA is still a massive market. There are other things as well, DePIN, for example, but yeah, I'm just going to pause here to give more time to the other panelists. Let's go around the horn. What kind of verticals are you guys excited about, and would you like to see Harbour Industrial to invest in?
That's a very deep question. I'll let Michael go first. I don't. It's like a very, very deep question to just name something right out of the blue. Michael?
Yeah, look, I think that there's probably two others that come to play, and it's the whole DePIN and AI. It's still going to be a massive one. It's still going to keep pushing. And I think this is going to sound strange, but I think DeFi is still going to be a boom industry as well. It's the thing that probably people get into first. We're really, really lucky and blessed in the Polkadot ecosystem to have like an amazing platform like Hydration. And for those that haven't discovered it yet, go check it out. But you can see all of the big like chains that have big attention right now. It's because they have a very robust DeFi ecosystem. And so that won't just end within one protocol inside our ecosystem. I think that there'll be many great variations of that as well. But yeah, gaming, RWAs, DeFi, DePIN, AI, I think that's probably pretty encompassing right there.
Yeah, no, absolutely makes sense. Also, thank you for the shout out of Hydration. We're also invested there via our Fund 1, and we use them, for example, for the new G-Dot liquidity incentives. It's something we also quite like and that we use for our own fund. Okay, great. Any other comments?
Yeah, so I think DeFi makes sense in the sense that it is the largest volume driver right now, and it's just a very big playing field. It's also real-world asset tokenization is in some part of DeFi in my categorization. What I understand, what is very interesting right now, especially in East Asia, is that there is a lot of stablecoin experiments going on. So
Totally.
Also regulatory sandboxes for stablecoins. Finding ways for having settlement in native currencies and stable coins for those native currencies. And then what I'm also observing is that we see more traditional industries now starting to consider how they can onboard. I think supply chain has always been in the conversation since I was joining crypto in 2016-17. There was already discussion about how supply chain is an excellent case for going on blockchain. And we see it right now with Origin Trail, for example. So Origin Trail has started out as a supply chain tracking company even before they went into Web3. Right now, they are tracking 40% of all US imports in the SCAN program. And they went into Web3. They put their supply chain tracking onto a parachain in Polkadot. And they discovered a completely new business case, which is you can actually also put knowledge assets on chain and use them as a counterweight for AI hallucinations. Because once you have a verified fact on chain, an AI can refer to that fact. And so you have a better chance of catching if there is something not a true statement, but rather a hallucination. And so I think supply chain tracking, like Origin Trail does it, is I think a really good use case because you want to verify the authenticity, where items are coming from, and it integrates with a vast array of industries. So I think it's sort of a door opener. If you can apply it in one industry, you can go from there and also expand it to other areas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love this example. And let me quickly pick up on the first thing that you say, which is stable coins. I mean, I think stable coins are, an absolute killer use case, and Polkadot is absolutely predestined to, act as the, settlement layer here. I mean, we all remember how like Tron came into this space and for some reason totally cornered the market in Latin America and elsewhere. But now their fees are, what is it, like $5 or something crazy per transaction, something absolutely insane, right? Polkadot has like some of the lowest like fees out there for instant stablecoin settlements. So I think this is going to be a really, really big use case. Polkadot app obviously is coming up as well for like stablecoin payments. And Tommy, you also mentioned East Asia. So I also have to quickly mention Hong Kong, my adopted hometown. Because the HKMA, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, just recently passed a new regulatory regime for stablecoins, specifically called like the stablecoin bill or ordinance, which essentially provides like a pathway for stablecoin issuers to become licensed in Hong Kong. And issue like sort of a Hong Kong dollar stablecoin, which I think could be really, really powerful. And then together with Polkadot East, where I'm also involved, we are trying to make sure that at least some of these issuers are also building this whole thing on Polkadot Rails, because I think it's just a natural fit. Okay, let me go over to Kristen. Maybe also comment a little bit, Kristen, if you don't mind, like from a Chinese perspective, like, what kind of exciting projects, what kind of exciting verticals do you see coming out of the Chinese market?
It's comes to, if talking to Chinese market is a very big topic because,
Sure.
but I can only talk about my personal opinions because I am more of a conservative type when it comes to investing. As you mentioned, I think stablecoin is a very good track because it's kind of approved for many years, and also the policy is very welcome, no matter in America and in Hong Kong. But I really want to point out my personal opinions on investing, but not representing China, and
Sure.
the opinions to China, because from my experience, and I found that whenever I look into new project, and every sector has so many opinions to choose from, but what actually determines whether a project will be successful in the long run often comes down to many factors, and the founders, the strategy, or sometimes even things like whether hackers target or not. So with very early stage project, there's just a lot of uncertainty. So personally, I prefer, to the projects that already prove themselves to some extent. For example, hydration, for example, peak, and I suggest we can invest them again. So that's a safe choice for a VC. And that's my personal opinion. And to add on that, I agree with you that I think stablecoin is also, from my investing logic, I think stablecoin is also a proven. It's been proven, so I think it's a kind of a safe and a stable, sector to invest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, makes sense. Yeah, and let me quickly respond to what you said about like sort of the different stages of investment. So yes, I mean, obviously, you have like pre-seed, you have seed, you have a Series A, you have a Series B, right? Maybe maybe beyond. But I mean, I think it is important to. It's kind of important to invest in all of these stages. Now, we've done some market analysis, and we believe that currently where we have the biggest shortfall is in kind of seed and pre-seed investing. Yeah. So the reason why I say this is because once it gets to a Series A, Series B, right? The likes of Peak, maybe Hydration, I don't know, BitTensor, right? Once we get to that kind of stage, then also other VCs, right? Like, I don't know, Pantera, CoinList, A16Z, right? They start to become interested, right? That's a good problem to have, right? When they want to come in a Series A or a Series B. Where I currently see the biggest market gap is for seed and pre-seed investments, which is a stage that usually comes after the the kind of either angel phase or grants phase, right? And I think, as I was saying before, in terms of grants, we're actually looking pretty good in Polkadot, right? There are grants out there. The Web3 Foundation, for example, provides, grants to projects to go to market quickly. But transitioning in your growth phase from like receiving one or two like ecosystem grants, right, let's say from the foundation, all the way to being ready for the first tier of VC funds, that's kind of a gap, right? That's where there's a lot of shortfall in terms of funding, and that is essentially exactly the kind of gap that we at Harbour Industrial are trying to fill. Okay. We're almost at time, but I still want to give the last word to Mario. Also in terms of projects and verticals you're excited about, and more generally about our fund.
Sure. I would like to highlight that we're not limited to certain verticals, but rather to the Polkadot ecosystem as a whole. So I see basically three major areas that I find interesting for projects. Number one is really those infrastructure projects that need Polkadot's technology to basically allow for bridging, like what Hyperbridge is doing and Sean and his team. This kind of like basically more, let's say, the idea started as more as of a moonshot, but like with a huge potential. And I think especially as an example here, Hyperbridge is already very advanced in that. It's doing really well here on the bridging side, but also some of the other infrastructure plays, like we discussed, Deepin and so on, so that you need like a solid stack at the back. The second bucket is for me the low-hanging fruits now with asset hubs, like small apps that serve a particular market, because there's a lot of for example, now we're looking at one payment provider, with investment products and so on, solving a very concrete problem for migrant workers, for example, to save on remittances. So it's like a very concrete case where you can basically serve a big part of population with a product with instant benefit to the community, but also generating a nice revenue and then allowing you to grow further. So very concrete apps. And the third part, I would say, is the strategic ones, where Kristen said more established projects, but that are currently not using Polkadot, but do benefit from using Polkadot. So basically to bring these projects to the Polkadot ecosystem. So I think those are the three that I find most interesting. Just shifting in a bit gears now on what I see from the community. I see is Dimitri asking about open source solution, getting big traction in the EU now. I think Polkadot is probably the most, or at least one of the most open source networks. A lot of the resources are in the public domain, and the developer community is very open to help new projects to come. So I think Polkadot definitely contributes a lot to open source and to help projects to upstart. I think the biggest value is network and go to market. Of course, you need a proper properly implemented tech stack at the back. But I think especially in Polkadot, we do have a strong community to help out on the projects. And are you open to incubating a skill game? Well, anyways, we're always happy to look at at new projects. So just send it over. We're happy to look at it. Max, I think somebody asked before again about the advisory board, the main purpose of the advisory board.
Yeah.
So perhaps if you could summarize again in a minute for those who joined late, and then we head out and basically help everyone to understand better.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thanks, Mario. And yeah, we are essentially at time. We just went on for a minute now. So sorry, a minute, an hour now. So we have to wrap up here. Unfortunately, there are lots of more questions in the chat about AI, for example, or other verticals. So obviously, lots of things to say here, but unfortunately, we're at time. So I'm going to wrap here. Hopefully, we can do something similar again in the future here on the official Polkadot account. Last words I want to say once again is, what really is this board here, right? What are we trying to achieve by bringing these 6 individuals onto the board of Harbour Industrial Capital? Keep in mind, besides the 4 faces that you see here in this video, we also have Angie, who kind of had camera issues while she was driving earlier today, and we have Pauline from the PBA, who is currently on a flight to Bali, so they couldn't join this call here today, but they're also on the board. What is the purpose of the board? So I really think of it as the bridge between Harbour Industrial Capital as a Polkadot ecosystem fund and the community, right? Or the DAO, if you want. And I think the important thing to say here is this is a two-way bridge, okay? So information should flow into both directions. On the one hand side, our esteemed advisory board is kind of in a position to relay this message that we tried to, explain here on this call to all of you guys, in a more personal, in a more direct way. So, listen to them. They're speaking for Harbour Industrial Capital. If you have any questions, approach them, ask them. It's kind of your easiest way to, connect to us. And then the second role, right, the other direction of this bridge is really getting your voice heard and getting your project into the pipeline. So we are here on the Polkadot official Polkadot X account. So I would assume that there are some people who are listening to this live stream who are builders on Polkadot, who are just getting started in the Polkadot ecosystem. Maybe people who already have a product that they built on Polkadot that is exciting, that is a good commercial project, and you guys are looking for investment, right? If that is the case, and you kind of know one of the guys who are here in this video, plus Angie or Pauline, then reach out to them, tell them what you're doing, tell them what they're working on. They can easily refer it to us. We will look at it. I can promise you that. We look at every pitch. We look at every funding application that we receive. Obviously, we cannot invest in all of them, right? That should go without saying. We only invest in the best projects, but you definitely have a way to reach us through this advisory board, get your project into the pipeline, and if it's a good project, we're most definitely going to fund it. All right, I think we're at time. We're a little bit over, so thank you very much to the advisory board. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of the advisory board in the first place. And thank you for joining this live stream. Thank you and have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.